Hi, this is my presentation on the threats over the World Wide Web case study. The first thing we need to examine is what do we know? And the first thing that we know is that the high school is in an affluent section of a major city. Many of the parents of the students attending Slattery are not only professionals, but they are employed in positions that require advanced degrees, and that the school is seen as one of the most prestigious in the state. Um, the next thing that we know is that Dr. Smith, who is the principal, is well regarded, well liked by the community. He's been recognized as Principal of the Year, and he is very concerned with his reputation and standing based upon that position as principal of such a well recognized school. Know that we have a teacher, Miss Tate, who is well educated. While she is well educated, she is also inexperienced and teaching science, and she's been assigned to teach very rigorous, courses. This, combined with her serious approach, has created a high stress environment for her students. And those students, along with parents, have complained to Dr. Smith, worried that this difficulty may lower their grades, and they're concerned about it affecting their possibility as a valedictorian or um, scholarships and what. So we also know that she, over a long weekend, checked her email and found an email asking her to check out a social media website. When she got there, the site was full of things about her that were overwhelmingly negative, also even perhaps um, lewd. Um, and the thing that concerned her most was that one of the posts there asked if it wouldn't be better if Miss Tate just disappeared. Miss Tate took this very seriously and took that statement as a threat to her life. She took that information to Dr. Smith, expressed her concerns, and Dr. Smith decided that he didn't really think that there was a significant threat to Miss Tate. He did ask for a copy and asked her if there was anyone who might be disgruntled. And she identified one student who might have done so because he was kind of sneaky in class. And she provided that name because she believed he didn't like her. So what we need to know is we need to use the information technology department, if at all possible, to identify the creator of the account, if we can. We also need to see what, if any, posts were created at school. We need to know what the district policy is in regards to online behavior, and we also need to know any municipal or state statutes that might apply. Um, so the plan of action. In order to ensure that the promotion of academic success and personal well-being of every student is being met, several steps do need to be met. So the first thing that we're going to do is take action. Then we're going to gather information, and we're going to engage those stakeholders, and then provide remediation if needed, found it. So step one is to reassure Ms. Tate that action is being taken. So it's clear that she sees this as a real threat. And since she sees it as a real threat, this may affect her classroom even more if she doesn't feel safe, right? She's already having some issues, and if we don't kind of take this serious and try to help her through it, it may increase those issues. And she could possibly make the situation worse by assuming guilt of a particular student and putting herself in a tenuous legal situation where she opens herself up to maybe a defamation or a slander issue. So the strategies that we're going to do here is that we're going to assure her verbally that something is going to happen, right? Like she needs to know that we are concerned and that we're going to do something. We're going to then walk her through the steps of what will happen as best as our knowledge is at that time, and then provide her maybe with some additional adult support the next school day so that she doesn't feel unsafe. Also, just as an extra set of adult eyes to keep a look on the room, because of course the kids are going to know all about it as well. Step two is we need to gather as much information as possible. So we need to know who was involved, we need to know what was their level of involvement, and just as importantly, we need to know where did that involvement take place. If it was here on school, that means one thing. If it was at home, that means another. So the strategies that we're going to take into here is we're going to contact the IT department to seek out information. Um, on those students that we can see who have posted activity, we're probably going to need to conduct some student interviews. And if we can get any other information from IT, um, conduct student interviews based upon that. And then make sure that we're seeking out information about our district policy so that we can be consistent with policy. Step three is going to be to make sure that we engage our stakeholders and keep them informed about what's happening. We need to, I mean, there's been a perceived threat to a teacher, so we need to let the board know. We probably need to let the police know. We need to contact parents of those students who are involved. And we also need to keep the students who are involved informed as well. So the strategies that we're going to take to make that happen is make contact with the appropriate district personnel, make a non-emergency phone call to law enforcement and inform them of the possible threats so that they can be aware of it, and then individually contact parents of students involved and talk to them about what's going on. On step four, we need to recognize the need for student and staff instruction. We need to look at remediation here. Students are going to need some instruction on dealing with stressful situations. It's true that her class is hard. It's true that her class is stressful, but we need to help students to better navigate those situations. And if one student is having an issue, probably more than one student is having an issue, so we need to help that. We also need to help educate them in the ways of professional using technology so that as they go out into the real world and people are going to be checking on their, on their social media posts to see what kind of candidate for a job they are, they need to be aware of that and help them to understand the responsibility that they have towards themselves in that. And then also we're going to need to make sure that staff that need that some assistance on developing that nurturing learning environment so that students don't feel so stressed out and don't feel like they have no recourse but to lash out. So the strategies we're going to take are to utilize here in the state of Kansas, we have state-mandated bully prevention time. That'd be a great time to help teach students stress management, how to deal with those types of situations without lashing out. We need to develop an embedded curriculum on proper technology use. I think too often as educators, we just assume that students know how to use it because they're the digital natives, but we need to help them understand that. And then we need to provide staff with additional mentoring opportunities. We need to get Ms. Tate in working with another senior seasoned teacher and help her see how she can build, keep rigor in her class, keep things, keep things serious, but also make it a place where students feel like they have a chance to be successful. And then provide that staff with frequent observations over those specific behaviors that we're trying to help her with. So in debriefing the problem, as I was going through this, what I was thinking was that we've really got to make sure that we take the situation seriously. While we may not see it directly as a threat, the fact that somebody else does, and that means that we need to take it seriously because it is going to affect them. But I was also thinking that I need to move with caution. I don't want to move too fast because of all the information that I don't have. If I move too fast and sort of move blindly, then mistakes could be made, and that things could get quickly, blown out of proportion. And I was also thinking that Miss Tate, if we're not careful, if we don't help her out, she could definitely make the situation worse. So what I was feeling was I'm feeling frustration towards Mrs. Tate because she is part to blame here, and I've provided her some opportunities to improve, and she hasn't really taken those, and so she's kind of put herself in the situation and thus put me in the situation that is not the best. I'm also feeling nervous about the power of parents. We're in a very well-to-do community, highly educated. They certainly understand their rights. They certainly understand how to navigate the legal system, and that could be a fairly tenuous situation for me as the principal of the school and the person in charge during this situation. And I'm also feeling unsure because I don't know the exact situation yet. I'm not sure what's going on. And so I'm feeling unsteady myself. I can understand how Ms. Tate feels. What I'm valuing, though, is I need to make sure that I'm valuing Ms. Tate's feeling of intimidation. I can't dismiss her because that's the way she feels, and I can't dismiss that. I'm also valuing the need to be fully informed before acting. I think too often people go off half-cocked and don't get things fixed like they should, instead of being slow and deliberate and making sure that they have everything in order. I'm also valuing the social emotional state of those students, right? There's a reason why they're behaving this way. They're not bad kids. They're not like deviants. They feel like they've been backed into a corner, and this is the way in which they can sort of let off some steam. And so I probably need to help them to make that happen better. And then I'm also, the risks towards all involved. There's risk towards the kids, there's risk toward the teacher, there's risk towards me, and I need to make sure that all of those things are valued. So the issues that are still unresolved, with the plan in place, I still don't know who's responsible for the initial page setup, and I think that's important, so that we can talk to them. Um, I don't know where the post originated. Again, if things were happening at school, that's going to lead me in one direction. If things weren't happening in school, that's going to lead me in another one. And I still don't know why Miss Tate hasn't implemented those techniques for improvement. I need to sort of investigate that further to find out why she hasn't done so. And then I don't yet know what legal ramifications there may be, right? Because I don't know where the post originated. I don't quite know all that I need to know there. So, how did I act with integrity? Well, I listened to the parents and students. In the initial case, I listened to the parents and students' concerns, and I attempted to solve the issue with Miss Tate, right? Like, I recognize that they're coming to me with a problem, and I need to act upon it. I can't just dismiss them out of hand. Similarly, I also took Miss Tate's concerns as reasonable and began to look into them. Again, I can't dismiss her out of hand just because I maybe don't quite agree with her. And then I also laid out a plan of action for Miss Tate. How did I act as a leader with fairness? Is that I believe I recognized the emotional distress of the students was real. Um, I have to treat them fairly too. I can't. Even though they may be children, they are still children who have real feelings, have real problems, and I need to try to treat those problems as fairly as possible. I waited to act until as much information as possible had been gathered. I didn't run off on her one suggestion of who it might be and immediately, you accuse him and cause problems that way. I made sure that I was fair to him and found out as much information as I could. And then I made sure that I included all who were involved. I didn't leave anybody out. I feel like I treated, by contacting parents, I'm treating them fairly. By working with students and working with them instead of making them be in trouble, I feel like I'm treating that as fair as well. And then how, as an educational leader, was this ethical? I recognized that student name by Miss Tate needed protection, right? Um, I have to be careful that with that student's name that she doesn't, because she felt that way, that she goes off and causes harm in the situation. Um, I again didn't attempt to dismiss out of hand the potential threat. I recognized it as a possibility, and that I also, the third one there is that I recognized there was a need for retraining rather than punishment for students and staff, right? Um, this is a case where mistakes have been made. Kids are going to make mistakes. Uh, what's not going to help the future is to just punish them. Rather, what's going to be best and the right thing to do here is to help them see better ways to deal with that situation. So there's my presentation on the case study for EDL850. Thanks for your time.